Welcome to another great podcast. I am Satavisa. Today we have with us Urvin Soneta, Vaibhav, Saxena, and Suneel Matha, co-founders of Synth Vision. The company aims to support professionals with a personal AI assistant that automates monotonous tasks and augments ideation processes. Their multilingual AI assistant augments meetings and takes live personalized notes, thus saving precious time. Welcome everyone. It's great to have you in Analytics Insight. Now I would like to ask you all to give us a little brief about Synth.
Yeah, sure. Thanks a lot first for having us on the podcast. So at Synth, we're building a personal AI assistant for everything audio. What Synth does is it helps you capture, summarize, and search for information that you have consumed from meetings, lectures, webinars, and podcasts. Currently, we're focused on solving this problem mainly for product managers and founders of early stage tech startups. The biggest things that once people use synth and how it will help them is people don't have to take down notes manually at all, and synth becomes this one place to search all the audio information that people consume.
That sounds interesting. Now I would like to ask Suneel how the company is leveraging AI and ML solutions.
Yeah, we use neural networks pretty heavily in our solution. So we primarily use it for three things. One is we use language models to generate summaries and action items for product managers for the individual meetings. And we also have a design for autocomplete suggestions, which helps users like summarize, answer questions, and write documents. Also for meeting recordings and videos, we segment it into topics so that they can quickly find out what is spoken where. And we also do speaker separation of recordings so that users can quickly like parse through who spoke what. So yeah, that's how we use AI and ML.
Thanks, Suneel. Now to Vaibhav, it would be great if you can give me some details about the personal AI assistants that you were making.
Yeah, sure. So the personal AI assistant bit that we're working on is, the simplest example is, as you're writing or creating a particular document during a meeting or while watching a YouTube video, what we do is, as you're writing, we start giving you personalized suggestions, which are very much based on the context. In this case, understand the context of the meeting. This is very much similar to how while you're writing an email on Gmail, as you're typing a sentence, you start getting suggestions, and it helps you accelerate the process of writing. So that's the personal AI assistant bit that we're working on. And how we do that is essentially leveraging the power of language models with custom decoders. And we would also be using reinforcement learning to further personalize these suggestions for each individual.
That sounds great. Now I would like to ask Urvin to explain to me the features like context switching and one-click notes.
Sure. So to start off with, basically what context switching over here is, whenever people have back-to-back meetings on different topics, that's what we call context switching. So, for example, at one moment, you might have a meeting with a designer and then in the next with an engineer. In this case, there is a lot of context switching that happens. Over here, how Synth helps is Synth helps you quickly search what happened in the last meeting with a very specific question like action items in the shortest and fastest possible manner. So you don't have to go through your previous notes in a tedious manner to kind of remember about the conversation that is going to happen next. In terms of one click notes, instead of you having to write notes and get distracted while you're in a meeting or listening to a lecture, with Synth, what you can do is actually take these important highlights and notes in one keyboard shortcut, which kind of helps you focus on the content completely.
Thanks for explaining that so well. Now, this question is for the three of you. How this company is providing services to the product managers?
Yeah. So three core pillars on which the product is made, and how it provides value to the product managers and founders of early stage tech startups is first is the transcription bit, which also forms the ground truth for any kind of notes they are taking during meetings or while watching videos or listening to podcasts. The second bit is the generative summary. Essentially, the transcripts that you get at the end of any meeting or video, they are pretty lengthy. And rarely or seldomly you would want to actually go back and go through the whole transcript. You would just want a really concise version of that whole transcript. And that's where our generative summary comes into the whole picture. And what you could do is, select the topics which are of interest to you and generate a summary around it. And the last bit is the intelligent search. Again, as the name suggests, it will try to understand whatever you type in the search query. This is very much different from the keyword search. And what happens is it tries to, again, nail down what is relevant for you and gives you a much more personalized search answers.
Yeah, and it also helps product managers do their core job much more efficiently. Whenever they're writing any documents, the autocomplete suggestions assist with that too. Something like writing a PRD.
Amazing. Now, I would like to ask you all about the role of the company in serving the sales industry.
Yes, so at the moment, we are not focused on the sales industry. As we mentioned, we are focused on solving it for product managers and founders of early stage tech startups. However, in terms of in the longer run, our focus would be on the entire knowledge worker segment. And why we are focusing on the knowledge worker segment is when we look at this epidemic of information overload or information exhaustion, that is at its peak for the knowledge workers. The sheer volume of information that knowledge workers have to deal with just to do their everyday work is a lot is a lot of problem for them on a daily basis. Now, for example, knowledge workers spend on average more than 40 hours a month on meetings, and then further there's an upward trend in the consumption of audio and video information that they do. Today, there are no apps which actually help them manage this information, which is in audio and video format. Synth will help solve this information overload by helping them capture, summarize, and search for any audio and video information knowledge workers consume on a daily basis.
That sounds really great. Now, the next question is to Sunil. What is your opinion of data privacy and how it should be dealt with, and how your company is dealing with it?
Yeah, we value user privacy a lot. So our database is encrypted in transit and at rest, both. So that way data is secure wherever it is being used in the data pipeline. And since we follow a business model based on subscription, the data which the user collects through the app is completely personal to them. So we keep it very private. And in terms of the way we train our algorithms, we are designing it to do active learning so that this process runs in a batch way without humans intervening in it. So it's pretty secure in that sense too.
That's interesting. Now, I would like to ask all three of you if you can give briefs about your personal journey in this industry.
So yeah, so I I graduated from IIT Madras in 2017, and then I worked as a data engineer at Noodle AI, and then left my job to work on some independent projects. And that's when in 2019 I joined Plaksha Tech Leaders Fellowship. It's an AI fellowship centered around AI design and leadership. So we got exposed to a lot of interesting courses and projects there, and that's where I met Urvin and Vaibhav. So as part of the fellowship, I had to intern for a couple of months at InfoEdge as a product manager. So that's where I personally faced this problem of way too many meetings every day and having to relay that information to a lot of other teams. So it was like information overload, and also COVID happened and the number of meetings just blew up. So I felt like that could be automated with language models, taking down notes and sharing the key points and action items. So yeah, then after the internship, I came back to Plaksha and I discussed this with Urvin and Vaibhav, and we started working on this. Yeah. Urvin, want to
Um,
go ahead?
yeah, so brief background about me. I actually have a interdisciplinary background. I've graduated from a liberal arts school called Ashoka University. I studied economics and computer science there, along with literature, philosophy, and a bunch of other subjects as well. After I graduated in 2018, I was working in the banking space as a corporate banker while doing my CFA exams, level 1 and level 2. During this time is when I realized I wanted to actually move back to the tech industry, and that's when I looked at Plaksha Tech Leaders Fellowship, now Plaksha Tech Leaders Program, to make this shift. And that's where, like Sunil mentioned, the three of us met. The entire experience during that 1 year kind of gave me exposure to artificial intelligence and kind of honed my product thinking as well. During my capstone project, I worked with Boston Consulting Group. I also had a lot of meetings and kind of resonated with the problem that Sunil faced during his time at InfoEdge. After our capstones, there were two things which kind of pushed us towards solving this problem. One was, of course, we had this product management class where the three of us actually started working on this problem. And next, that's when COVID had hit as well. So there was this trend of a lot of things moving online, a lot of audio information being consumed on an online basis and from meetings online. And we thought that was the right time to actually jump into this as well, to explore this problem space. And that's when we started doing this.
Yeah, so my background is in architecture and design, graduated in 2017. So, coming from a design background, I did my shift towards engineering, and essentially, like Urvin and Sunil mentioned, all three were part of Plaksha's Tech Leaders Fellowship Program. And that's where, the whole engineering bit is what I learned. During the program, like Urvin mentioned, he went to BCG and Sunil went to InfoEdge. I chose a research sort of a or academic path. I went to Purdue University in the US as a deep learning researcher and did my capstone over there. And once we came back, Sunil had an initial idea about what we could do. Uh, for me, essentially, the epiphany or the problem actually stuck while we were building the product. It required a lot of upskilling and learning through videos and audio consumption, and that's where I understood the problem properly. So yeah, that's my background.
It's really great to hear all of you. Now, on a concluding note, I would like to ask the three of you, what are your future plans for Synth?
Yeah. So yeah, we have a basic design about the autocomplete suggestions now, which can, as Vaibhav mentioned, the interface is similar to Gmail autocomplete, um, but it can suggest entire ideas. And so the plan we have with autocomplete suggestions is that we aim to like scale it up and use it to summarize, write documents, and answer questions. So it is very different to what is existing out there with other companies. Other companies like who try to attempt summarization give very static forms of text. We do it in a adaptive way so that user has complete control over the documents and the answers which are generated by the AI assistant. So that is one. And yeah, another aspect of the AI assistant is we want it to be deeply personal. So it will be surfacing up and suggesting new ideas based on their notes from the videos and the recordings they consume. So that is another. And by doing these things, we will ultimately remove the need from people having to organize their notes and information by folders or backlinks like Chrome. So it basically is almost like a super personal AI assistant which can suggest ideas and it can help answer all questions without having to organize everything.
Urvin and Vaibhav, would you like to share your ideas?
I think pretty much Sunil summarized it very well. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we really want is, most of the apps out there right now want you to spend too much time on their platform or product. We, on the other hand, do not want that, right? We want you to capture all your information, but you come to the app only when you actually need it, and that's what a true personal AI assistant would do. So yeah, that's what we are aiming for in the future.
Yeah, I think Weber and Sunil have covered it very well. And I do think we are aiming Synth to become this future tool of thought for everyone, where, like Weber mentioned, it blends into your background in your everyday life, and it does not require you to do a lot of learning to actually start using Synth, but it blends into your lifestyle.
That sounds amazing. Now, I'm sure this is definitely going to help all of our listeners too. And Thank you, Urvin, Vaibhav, and Suneel for joining us today. It was a pleasure talking to you all, and I'm looking forward to seeing many more innovative solutions coming from you.